Hello, my name is Samprity, and today I will critically evaluate a learning experience from a storytime and rest time transition session with 4-year-old children in a family daycare setting. In this presentation, I will examine how children engaged with the activity, what they learned, and how the educator applied intentional teaching strategies to support their development. I will also reflect on the alignment of the practice with the EYLF Volume 2 outcomes, national law, and regulation, highlighting areas of success and opportunities for further extension of learning. This evaluation demonstrates professional reflection, showing how can I use observation and assessment to inform future planning. The children reflected on their learning through verbal and nonverbal behaviors. For example, when they exclaimed "Wah, no" or "yeah," it showed engagement and emotional connection to the story. They asked questions such as "What's that?" demonstrating curiosity and self-awareness about their understanding. Pride and agency were evident when children assisted with bed making and toilet routine, showing they were capable and confident. This reflection indicates that children were actively processing the experience, making meaning of the story, and applying learning in practical contexts. Observing these behaviors provide evidence that children are not only engaged but also aware of their learning. Children engaged in multiple ways: physically, socially, and cognitively. Adjusting their sitting to ensure everyone could see the book demonstrated awareness of peers and cooperative behavior. Participation in repeated story phrases such as trip tap promoted language development and memory. Practical engagement, such as helping make beds and going to the toilet, encouraged independence, problem solving, and self regulation. Active listening, responding to prompts, and collaborating with peers reflect sustained engagement and meaningful learning. This behavior demonstrates how children can be supported through intentional teaching strategies to develop multiple domains simultaneously. During this learning experience, the children demonstrated development across multiple domains, showing that the activities were meaningful and effective. Literacy and language skills were developed through active engagement with the story. For example, when the educator read the phrases trip trap, and "Who's that trip tapping on my bridge?" the children repeated the lines and responded to questions. This shows that they were understanding the story, recalling key events, and building vocabulary and comprehension skills. Social skills were observed through cooperative interactions. Sophia moving so another child could see the book demonstrates empathy and awareness of others. Additionally, children waited their turn, helped each other, and communicated their ideas, showing collaboration and developing social competence. Self-regulation and independence were also evident. Ian independently helped the educator make his bed and went to the toilet without prompting. Similarly, Jody and Ella followed instructions for bed making and transitioning to nap time. These examples show that children are learning to manage their behavior, follow routines, take responsibility for their own care. Motor skills were supported through practical routines. Children demonstrated fine motor coordination while manipulating sheets and blanket during bed making. This physical activity promotes dexterity and control, which are essential for daily living skills. Overall, this experience integrated multiple domains of learning: literacy, social, emotional, self-regulation, and motor development through a contextuality meaningful activity. The children were actively engaged, demonstrating that the educator's planning effectively supported holistic development in alignment with the EYLF Volume 2 outcomes. We can determine that the intended learning outcomes were achieved by observing clear evidence of children's engagement, participation, and demonstrated skills. Verbal responses and active participation provide the first indicator. For example, during story time, the children repeatedly phrases such as trip tap, trip trap, and responded to questions from the educator such as who's that trip trapping on my bridge. Their verbal responses demonstrate comprehension, memory recall, and active involvement in literacy and language learning. Completion of routines offer further proof of learning outcomes. Ian independently helped the educator cover his mattress with a fitted sheet and then went to the toilet by himself. Jody and Ella also assisted with bed making, following instructions accurately. These actions demonstrate the achievement of self-regulations, independence, and practical life skills. Peer interaction and collaboration are additional evidence. For instance, Sophia moved to allow another child to see the book, and children took turns and cooperated during both story time and bed making. This shows that they were developing empathy, turn taking, and social problem solving skills, which align with the EYLF outcome 2. Children are connected with and contribute to their world. Finally, alignment with EYLF outcomes confirms achievement. Observing the children's participation and engagement show connections to multiple outcomes. Outcome 1, identity. Children expressed agency and pride in completing tasks. Outcome 3, well-being. Children managed transitions calmly and safely. Outcome 5, communication. Children use language to interact with peers and educators. In summary, by combining verbal, practical, and social evidence, we can clearly demonstrate that the intended outcome were achieved. The video provides direct, observable example of how children's learning, independence, and social skills developed, proving the effectiveness of the educator's planning and implementation. There are several ways this learning experience could be extended to deepen children's learning and engagement. Firstly, using puppets or props would allow children to act out the story of the three billy goats graph. For example, giving each child a puppet for the billy goats or the troll could enhance comprehension, memory recall, and creative expression. Children could manipulate the puppets to retell the story, which also promotes language, narrative skills, and confidence in storytelling communication. Secondly, peer-led storytelling and role play could extend learning by giving children leadership opportunities. For instance, one child could lead the story while others follow, taking turns in character roles. This would strengthen social emotional skills, turn-taking, empathy, and collaboration, while also fostering a sense of agency and responsibility. Reflective questions could be asked throughout the story or routine to promote higher order thinking. For example, the educator might ask, "What would you do if you were the troll?" Or "How could we help each other in the story?" Such questions encourage critical thinking, problem solving, and perspective taking. Finally, incorporating songs or movement related to the story can enhance engagement, memory, and physical development. For example, children could march across the mat, trip trap style, or create sound effects for the troll, combining gross motor skills with learning. By implementing these strategies, the learning experience becomes more interactive, engaging, and inclusive, allowing children to develop skills in literacy, communication, social emotional learning, creativity, and physical coordination while extending the depth and richness of the learning. Additional resources could significantly enhance learning and engagement in this experience. Puppets and tactile props could be added to allow children to act out the story of the three billy goats graph. For example, providing goat and troll puppets would enable children to retell the story, develop language skills, narrative understanding, and creative expression. Manipulating these props also support fine motor development. Visual aids such as picture card or story sequencing card can help children understand the story's order and characters, particularly for children who are visual learners or those with diverse abilities. For instance, a card showing the troll or the bridge could help children predict what happens next, supporting comprehension and critical thinking. Music or rhythm instrument could enhance engagement and make the story more interactive. For example, children could create a tripped-up rhythm using tambourines or drums, connecting gross motor skills, auditory learning, and literacy development through rhythm and movement. Finally, bilingual or culturally inclusive books could be included to reflect children's cultural and linguistic identities. For instance, a version of the story in a child's home language would support inclusion, identity, and connection to their culture, in line with the EYLF principle of equity and cultural responsiveness. In summary, adding these resources would not only make the learning experience richer and more engaging, but also support differentiated learning, inclusivity, and deeper understanding across literacy, motor skills, and social emotional development. The intended learning outcomes for this session were clearly achieved as evidenced by the children's behavior, interactions, and participation. Literacy and language development were observed through their active engagement during story time. For example, the children repeated the story phrase trip trap together, showing recall, memory, and comprehension of story event. They also asked questions like what's that when they saw the troll, indicating curiosity and engagement with the story content. Social emotional learning outcomes were met through collaboration and peer interactions. An example from the video is when Sophia adjusted her position so another child could see the book. This demonstrates empathy, awareness of others, and cooperative behavior. Self-regulation and independence were demonstrated during routines. For instance, Ian independently helped the educator cover his mattress with the sheet and then went to the toilet on his own, showing mastery of personal care routines and self-management skills. Similarly, Jody and Ella assisted in making their beds, negotiating space, and taking turns, which reflects patience and self-control. Motor skills development was evident in the fine motor coordination required to manipulate the bedding, adjust sheet, and handle props. Overall, the children demonstrated agency and pride in completing tasks successfully and contributing to the group. They were not only following instruction but making decisions and taking responsibility for their learning, which is central to the EYLF outcome 1 identity and outcome 3 well-being. In conclusion, by observing verbal, social, practical, and physical indicators, we can confidently say that the intended outcomes, literacy, social emotional skills, self-regulation, independence, and motor skills were achieved. The video provides clear, real example of these outcomes, confirming that the educators' planning and implementation were effective and aligned with the EYLF Volume 2 framework. On this slide, I am demonstrating how the learning experience aligned with the national law, the Education and Care Service National Regulation, and the EYLF Volume 2. Firstly, the educator planned and implemented the routine experience using the EYLF Volume 2 planning cycle, which ensures the practice is intentional, reflective, and outcome-driven. For example, the educator observed children's engagement in the story and responded to their cues, which reflect the EYLF principles of responsiveness to children and ongoing learning and reflective practice. In terms of regulatory requirements, the educator ensured safe supervision during transitions to nap time and toileting. This aligns with the Regulation 168, Policies and Procedure for Health and Safety, and Regulation 115, Inclusion of Children with Additional Needs. Safety, hygiene, and respect for children's dignity were clearly present. EYLF outcomes were embedded naturally. Children showed outcome 1, strong sense of identity, particularly when making choices and expressing preferences. Outcome 2, connected with and contributing to their world when they waited, took turn, and cooperated. Outcome 5, effective communication as they repeated phrases from the story and interacted with peers. An example is when the educator moved herself and adjusted the group so all children could see the book. This shows inclusion, respect, and cultural responsiveness, which are the core expectations of the EYLF and National Quality Standard. By considering these frameworks together, the experience was meaningful, safe, developmentally appropriate, and aligned with the best practice in early childhood education. In conclusion, this learning experience successfully promoted holistic development. From a reflective perspective, this experience met several EYLF outcomes, especially in communication, well-being, and sense of identity. The educator strategies such as scaffolding, responsive questioning, and ensuring visibility of the picture book played a key role in achieving these outcomes. However, there are clear opportunities to strengthen the experience in the future. This reflection reinforces the importance of continuously evaluating our own teaching practice, understanding what worked well, and identifying areas for improvement. It also helps us design future experiences that are inclusive, culturally responsive, and strongly connected to EYLF Volume 2. These references guided the analysis and reflection presented today. These resources are essential in shaping reflective and intentional teaching, and they have supported the development of this critical evaluation.